Tonight's story is called Get Well Soon. When Wobbly Fang came down for breakfast, Mummy wasn't there. She wasn't singing with the wolf choir or admiring the view from Snowy Peak. All that was left of her was her moon feather coat. "Don't worry, Wobbly Fang," said Daddy, ruffling his fur. "Mummy's not very well, and she had to go away for a little while, but we're going to visit her every day." He swung Wobbly Fang into the wagon and off they went to see her, past the pine trees and singing birds, past the snowy peaks and big rivers, and into a different world. Mummy lay in a strange room. She didn't look like Mummy. She looked small and lost and alone. Wobbly Fang wanted to give her a hug, but there were too many bottles in the way. Very gently he reached out his paw. "When are you coming home, Mummy?" he said. "In a little while," said Mummy. That evening, Wobbly Fang thought about Mummy, far away from the forest and all alone in her strange room, and then he had an idea. He went down to Bear Hollow and called for the wolf choir. "I need your help," he called them. The next morning, the wolf choir was waiting for him by the wagon, and when they reached the hospital, Wobbly Fang led them to Mummy's room. All at once it was filled with the sounds of forest songs. "How wonderful," said Mummy, and her eyes began to sparkle like they used to. Very gently, Wobbly Fang reached over and planted a kiss on the tip of her nose. "When are you coming home, Mummy?" he asked. "In a little while," said Mummy. That evening, Wobbly Fang climbed up to the top of Snowy Peak, and he took out his paint box and painted the green pines and mountains and Big Blue River. Under a blossoming tree, he added 2 wolves dancing together. See his picture? "How wonderful," said Mummy when she saw her view from Snowy Peak. Her ears pricked up like they always did when she was happy, and Wobbly Fang moved the bottles to one side, and he climbed onto Mummy's bed and gave her a big hug. "When are you coming home, Mummy?" he said. "In a little while," said Mummy. Wobbly Fang sat in the kitchen that evening, and he buried his nose in Mummy's moon feather coat, and it smelled of Mummy and their forest walks they used to go to Snowy Peak. Suddenly, a little while seemed an awfully long time. "What are you going to bring Mummy home tomorrow?" "What are you going to bring Mummy tomorrow?" said Daddy as he tucked Wobbly Fang up in bed. Wobbly Fang closed his eyes. There was only one thing left to give. When they arrived at the hospital the next morning, Wobbly Fang ran to Mummy's room, but when he got there, her bed was empty. "Mummy!" howled Wobbly Fang, but there was no answer. He snuffled under beds and opened cupboards. There was no good. Mummy was nowhere to be found. And then suddenly, Wobbly Fang heard the faint howl of the forest folk song, and he followed it down a long corridor, around a corner, and there, sitting on a bench with her suitcase, was Mummy. Wobbly Fang flew into her arms. "I've been waiting for you," said Mummy, giving her a big hug. "And you've brought my moon feather coat. When are you coming home, Mummy?" said Wobbly Fang. "Now," said Mummy, and off they went together. Has your Mummy ever gone to hospital? Sometimes mummies do get sick and have to go to hospital. Sometimes children get sick and have to go to hospital, but they always come home. Night, night, God bless.